Welcome back to Readability. If you didn't know already, this is a kid podcast that's all about reading. Don't know a good book to read? Visit Readability and I'll help you out. Every Saturday, I'll either read, review, or recommend different books just for you. Lay back and listen to this week's episode. Let's get started. Okay, here's something you probably didn't know about me, or maybe you did because I mentioned it in my review of Lovely War, but I'm not much of a rereader. I hear people say, oh my goodness, I've read that book more than 3 times, but unfortunately that's not something I can relate to. I've never reread a book more than 2 times, no. I suppose when I reread something, I get too sad and nostalgic that I either stop the book to reminisce, or I just can't continue for probably the same reason. Trust me, I've tried. I know if I had the guts to reread, I would really like doing it, which isn't actually the best thing in the world because I should be reading new content, but you know what I mean. When it comes to TV shows, however, for example, The Office, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, I can rewatch all the episodes over and over and never get tired of it. I think I know why, actually. When it comes to rewatching TV shows, I'm not really rewatching. You know, it's more like background noise while I do something else. You can't really do that with books. You gotta put all your attention on what's being read, which is probably the reason I don't reread. Because I really have to pay attention and I don't feel like it. Anyways, back to what this episode is actually about. Despite all that I said, here's a list of books I would be willing to reread over and over. Maybe not over and over with some of these, but I would definitely do a second reread. Without further ado, let's get into this episode. The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. Yes, this book. I wasn't expecting it when I first got it for it to become one of my favorite books and series of all time. Initially, when I got it, it was kind of my rebound book for the Shatter Me series, as I didn't have the second book on hand and at the bookstore we went to. So I chose this one, and I was like, oh, this will be a fun read. Well, look where we are. I've also been wanting to say this since I made the middle of the year book tag episode, but if I'd read The Gilded Wolves before that episode, I would have definitely said that my most anticipated release in the second half of the year would be The Bronze Beast by the same author. The last book in this trilogy. It's not finished, and the endings. This series is a YA fantasy heist story with a found family. Regardless of wanting to reread this book in my free time, I think I'm kind of forced to reread it due to the release of the third book being in 2 months. I forget a lot of what happens in books in general, and especially with this one. And that's not good when reading a sequel or continuation of series, not knowing what's going on. So yes, I will have to reread this one along with The Silvered Serpents, the second book. Lovely War by Julie Berry. I'm not going to keep you long for this one because I did mention my love for this novel in the episode dedicated to it. This book, I feel, is such reread worthy. Even if I was just reading again through audio, it would still be such an amazing experience. The characters are brilliantly written, and it's just, it's so amazing. I love this book with all my heart. You don't even know. To be fair, I feel like this is the type of book where I would get all emotional seeing the characters being introduced again and then put it down, but I promise to try my best, I swear. Overall, I love this book so much, and I can't wait to reread it when I do. The Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. This series is a must reread. This is the series that got me into reading, the series that started it all. Obviously, when I'm rereading, I know I'm gonna know all the character deaths, the plot twists, the characters more than they know themselves. However, it's still gonna be such a fun time doing so, getting to be in the world once again more than a year later. Yes, I'm aware that's not a very large time gap, but let me be. I'm thinking about doing a big reread of the entire PJO series along with the Heroes Olympus series with my friend. Not sure when, but eventually. So, hey, when we do that, you already know I'm going to try my best to document my progress. Getting to meet some of my first actual favorite characters, looking at you, Annabeth, and see the relationship between Percy and Annabeth grow, and also other relationships, especially in Heroes of Olympus, grow, knowing where they end up or are today. It would be such a pleasure to read this again. The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. Right when I finished Winter, I knew this series would hold a special place in my heart. It's just how the characters were written, how we followed them through a lot. It's kind of an understatement. A lot. And how the world was overall constructed. It feels like home, honestly. I will say that it is kind of a long series. Well, Percy Jackson is too. And the Grishaverse. There's 3 series in one big series or universe. But Winter's 800 pages long. That's a lot. Just saying. I say that, yeah, I read it all in less than 2 days. So, if you haven't read any of these books, I do highly, highly recommend it. Fairy tale retellings, but sci-fi. I mean, come on. What's more to love? If I need an escape from reality or life, I think this will be the series to reread, honestly. Any Grishaverse book by Leigh Bardugo. Literally any book in the Grishaverse will do. If you're unaware, the Grishaverse books contain Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Rune and Rising, Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, King of Scars, and Rule of Wolves. However, I have not read the last 2, the King of Scars duology. For some really, really weird reason, I got the urge to reread the Shadow and Bone trilogy and Six of Crows after I finished The Atlas Six by Olive Blake. I have no idea why, but I had this strong urge to reread it. I feel like the first 3 books are so easy to reread and read if you haven't read them. They're very addictive in my opinion. And the adventure they go on doesn't give me you can only read this once vibes. Does that make any sense? For example, A Darker Shade of Magic, I feel like I can only read that once because it's just so epic. Does that make sense? I don't know how to explain it. It would be fun to see all my tabbings in the books. I didn't write in them, but I did tab all my emotions throughout the novels, and also to see how fast I can read the first book. Let me explain. When I first got it, I didn't have any of the other books, Siege and Storm and Rune and Rising, so I was very nervous to finish it quickly because, trust me, I could have. So I want to see if I reread it now, how fast I could actually read it without being scared I don't have the other books. Just flipping through the pages, especially from Six of Crows, makes me so happy. The friendships, the romance, and the characters overall are so amazingly done, and don't even get me started on the world. And who would I be without some fantasy rereads in my life? Literally, all these books have some fantasy-esque thing in them. I'm pretty predictable. And that's a wrap on these books that I would love to reread someday. Hopefully soon, honestly, because I think I would reread a lot if I could. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, have a great day and keep reading, folks. Bye-bye.